The live comments scrolling in my vision told me I was the cherished daughter in a perfect family story, that my parents and brother loved me more than anything. But in reality, Dad's hand was quick to strike, Mom's words were a constant barrage of insults, and my brother's face was a permanent mask of cold indifference. Finally, after another round of their usual abuse, I was done. I would no longer listen to the comments. I would no longer be their perfect, obedient daughter. I was so exhausted I forgot to feed my sister's goldfish. Out of a whole tank, one of them died. My sister, Leslie, wouldn't let it go. She demanded I replace it. I tried to soothe her, promising I'd buy her a new one as soon as I got paid for my part-time job. But her eyes blazed with fury as she shrieked. Buy a new one? Bubbles had a life. You think you can just buy a new life? Bubbles was the name she'd given the goldfish. I stood there, frozen, and unsure what to do. Hearing the commotion, my father stormed toward me. His palm cracked against my cheek. My head swam, the world tilting for a moment. My mother's voice was a sharp, endless drone of insults in my ear. It's Leslie's birthday today. Not only did you not get her a gift, but you deliberately killed her precious Bubbles. Sarah, how can you be so wicked? Bubbles was her companion for 3 years, her most treasured pet. You're just angry we didn't take you to that fancy restaurant, so you took it out on Bubbles, on all of us. And the comments scrolling before my eyes were still sympathizing with them. Look, you can see it, can't you? Mr. Kripke, the ruthless business tycoon, his hand is trembling after hitting her. Oh my God, he loves her so much. Just touching her fills him with so much guilt, right? And I've never seen Mom, the brilliant and gentle designer, look so disappointed. Her face is all flushed, it's so cute. My heart is melting. Sarah is being so difficult. Why does she have to provoke her loving parents like this? I shook my head, trying to force the words out. I wasn't being difficult. Cradling my stinging cheek, I tried to explain that after cleaning the entire house, I was just too tired. The fridge was empty, and I hadn't eaten all day. I'd collapsed onto my bed and fallen asleep, completely forgetting about the fish. I didn't kill it on purpose. But my brother Ethan's cold voice cut through my explanation like a shard of ice. Sarah, stop it. You hate Leslie for taking the 16 years of life that should have been yours, so you've been targeting her ever since you came back. Don't think for a second that just because you're my biological sister, I'll take your side. You have no idea how much we love Leslie. You will take full responsibility for Bubbles' death. Tears finally spilled from my eyes, hot and heavy. The injustice felt like a physical weight in my chest, crushing me. I didn't understand. If Leslie cherished that fish so much, why didn't she feed it herself? Why hand the responsibility to me? There was a whole tank of them. I fed them every day, but I could never tell one from the other. How was Leslie so sure that the dead one was Bubbles? It was a fish. How was I supposed to take full responsibility for the death of a fish? Should I call the police to assess the damages? Ask a judge to sentence me to jail time? My father's foot shot out and kicked the back of my knee. My legs, already weak from hunger and exhaustion, buckled. I crashed to the floor, my kneecaps screaming in protest against the hard tile. It felt like they might have shattered. Apologize to Leslie right now, and get on your knees and beg for Bubbles' forgiveness. The order was given. My brother grabbed the back of my head and forced it down. Thump, thump, thump. 3 hard knocks against the floor, and my dignity was buried along with that fish. I watched through a blur of tears as my parents wrapped Leslie in a comforting embrace, murmuring soft words to her. For me, there was only cold, merciless punishment. You murdered Bubbles, so you will wear mourning for him. You will hold a vigil at his grave. Starting now, you will kneel in the garden by Bubbles' tomb. You will not move. You will not eat. You will not drink. And you will not sleep until the 7-day mourning period is over. It took Leslie 10 minutes to carve Tomb of Bubbles onto a small wooden plank. Then, she buried Bubbles in the small garden. After she'd said a few words of remembrance, a light rain began to fall. She coughed twice, and my father immediately suggested she go back inside to avoid catching a chill. With a cloying sweetness and a look of deep reluctance to leave Bubbles, she said, Mom, Dad, Ethan, you should all go inside too. Bubbles wouldn't want you to get sick because of him. One thoughtful sentence, and the frowns on their faces melted away. As for me, I tried to stand, but my hands and feet had been bound with rope to a nearby fence post. Sigh, Mr. Kripke loves Sarah so much, but she just keeps messing up, always making her little sister cry. Mrs. Kripke keeps looking back. She must be worried about Sarah getting wet in the rain. Ethan's eyes are red, too. They're only doing this to help Sarah grow into a better person. My heart aches for them. Here it comes. Mr. Kripke is bringing out a burlap sack to keep the rain off Sarah's head. So thoughtful. How can a father be this good? As that last comment scrolled by, A heavy, grimy sack was pulled over my head. Panic seized me. My world plunged into darkness. My nose filled with the acrid, chemical stench of fertilizer. Dad, no, please. I'm allergic to fertilizer. Don't put this over my head. I struggled, but my father's foot slammed into my stoma. Pain exploded in my abdomen, and I doubled over, unable to breathe. His voice was a cold whisper by my ear. If Leslie hadn't reminded me, I would have forgotten that mourners must be properly attired. Don't you dare take it off or you'll force my hand. The chemical fumes from the sack flooded my lungs. I could feel my throat starting to swell, my nasal passages closing up. Breathing became a desperate, ragged effort. My skin erupted in painful, itching welts. I had to beg him. Dad, please, I'm really allergic. Take it off. I'm going to die. I'm really going to die. His only reply was a cold, dismissive snort. You who killed Leslie's pet out of pure jealousy? If you die, you die. Don't think for a second, I'll shed a tear for you. My heart plummeted into a black abyss. Ethan's eyes are red, too. They're only doing this to help Sarah grow into a better person. My heart aches for them. Here it comes. Mr. Kripke is bringing out a burlap sack to keep the rain off Sarah's head. So thoughtful. How can a father be this good? As that last comment scrolled by, a heavy, grimy sack was pulled over my head. Panic seized me. My world plunged into darkness. My nose filled with the acrid, chemical stench of fertilizer. Dad, no, please. I'm allergic to fertilizer. Don't put this over my head. I struggled, but my father's foot slammed into my stomach. Pain exploded in my abdomen, and I doubled over, unable to breathe. His voice was a cold whisper by my ear. If Leslie hadn't reminded me, I would have forgotten that mourners must be properly attired. Don't you dare take it off, or you'll force my hand. The chemical fumes from the sack flooded my lungs. I could feel my throat starting to swell, my nasal passages closing up. Breathing became a desperate, ragged effort. My skin erupted in painful, itching welts. I had to beg him. Dad, please, I'm really allergic. Take it off. I'm going to die. I'm really going to die. His only reply was a cold, dismissive snort. You who killed Leslie's pet out of pure jealousy? If you die, you die. Don't think for a second I'll shed a tear for you. My heart plummeted into a black abyss. And yet, the comments flashing before my eyes insisted. He loved me. His eyes are all red. If Sarah would just apologize properly, he'd forgive her in a heartbeat. Why is she so stubborn? He even remembered it's her birthday today. He has a surprise for her. Mom and Ethan are watching from the window. They're so worried their hearts are hurting. How can they love her this much? Come on, cherished daughter. Pull yourself together. Apologize. There's a cake and presents waiting for you inside. Was it true? If I just apologized, would he take the sack off? If I just apologized, would Mom give me my presents? If I just apologized, would Ethan sing me happy birthday? I'm sorry, Dad, I was wrong. I shouldn't have forgotten to feed my sister's goldfish. It's all my fault. Please forgive me. Please, Mom, Ethan, Leslie, forgive me. I groveled on the wet ground like a dog, pleading with him. I'd lost count of how many times the comments had deceived me. Every time my parents and brother lashed out, the comments would reassure me that they loved me fiercely. They just didn't know how to express it, they'd say. I needed to be the mature one, the good girl who tried to please them. But every attempt I made to win their favor was met with them pushing me further and further away. The comments said Dad had a stressful job, that he'd made enemies, and that any stranger in the house me was a security risk. The comments said Mom was a design genius, her hands. But my father's voice seemed to crawl up from the depths of hell itself, terrifying and final. You're only realizing your mistake now? It's too late. You stay here and reflect. Atone for your sins against Bubbles. And if you die, you deserve it. I should have known. I'd lost count of how many times the comments had deceived me. Every time my parents and brother lashed out, the comments would reassure me that they loved me fiercely. They just didn't know how to express it, they'd say. I needed to be the mature one, the good girl who tried to please them. But every attempt I made to win their favor was met with them pushing me further and further away. The comments said Dad had a stressful job, that he'd made enemies, and that any stranger in the house me was a security risk. The comments said Mom was a design genius, her hands meant for creating, not for mundane chores. The comments said my brother was a legendary race car driver, a man of speed and adrenaline who shouldn't be tied down by domestic duties. So, the housework fell to me and Leslie. But Leslie, coddled and pampered her whole life, was useless. She'd slip while mopping, burn herself while cooking, and scrape her delicate fingers raw while washing clothes. And every time my parents and brother would reign there, fury down on me. They'd blame me, the older sister, for not taking proper care of her. Slowly, I took over everything. Even then, they were never satisfied. Leslie's pencil was dull. It was my fault for not sharpening it. My parents and brother threw away all my drawing pencils. Leslie woke up late and missed the school bus. My fault for not waking her. They grounded me for 2 months, forbidding me from going to school. Leslie spent all her allowance and had no money for a drink. My fault for being stingy and not buying her one. They confiscated all my money and forced me to get a part-time job to pay for my own school fees and living expenses. Everything was always my fault. My parents believed it. The comments believed it. And now, as I was suffocating inside a fertilizer sack, on the verge of death, the comments still believed it was my fault. You're the most pathetic, cherished daughter I've ever seen. Couldn't you have just apologized earlier? You had to go and make your family lose face. They don't even know how to get you back inside for your cake now. The cake will go bad if it's not eaten today. I guess they can celebrate your birthday for you. Through the glass. Ethan is singing happy birthday so passionately. That deep voice is so sexy. He's such a doting brother. The gift they got you is that art book you've always wanted. It's on your bed right now. See? We told you they love you most. Next time, don't make them angry, okay? Just be a good little cherished daughter. Through the gaps in the burlap, I could see the warm, happy scene playing out behind the garden's glass doors. My heart was a dead, cold thing in my chest. There wasn't a flicker of feeling left. The cake was for Leslie. The presents were for Leslie. The birthday song was for Leslie. And that art book the comments mentioned, it was just an old one Leslie didn't want anymore. It wasn't just the comments that had been lying to me. I had been lying to myself. If they truly loved me, would they have treated me like a servant? Would they have ever laid a hand on me, or screamed such hateful words? Love and its absence are as clear as night and day. They didn't love me. They never had. And, in that moment, I made a vow. I would never listen to the comments again. I would never again be my parents' and brother's good little girl. If I can just survive these 7 days. A jumble of noises woke me. The sharp scent of antiseptic told me I was in a hospital. I cracked my eyes open and looked around. It was a large ward, with at least 20 other patients. I remembered when Leslie had cut her finger once. My parents had rushed her to the best private hospital, into a private room that was quiet, luxurious, and smelled of money. Of course, I had no right to complain. I was lucky to be alive. My eyes followed the 4-line from the back of my hand up to the bag. It was nearly empty. I tried to call for a nurse, but my voice was a raw, weak croak. It was the old woman in the next bed who saw my struggle and pressed the call button for me. A nurse hurried in and took care of the 4. "Where's your family?" she asked. I shook my head. I didn't know. The nurse stepped out into the hallway and called, "Family for bed 23? Is Sarah Kripke's family here?" She called out several times, but no one answered. Her voice was laced with irritation. What kind of parents are these? Their daughter nearly dies from an allergic reaction and exposure, and they don't even leave someone to watch over her. Her words sparked outrage from the comments. How dare that nurse talk like that? She has no idea Mr. and Mrs. Kripke are avoiding Sarah out of guilt. Mrs. Kripke is crying in her husband's arms, and Ethan is so full of remorse he hasn't even eaten dinner. They love her so much. It's a quiet, restrained love. So moving. I closed my eyes, trying to block out the phantom words. The nurse went to the front desk and used the hospital phone to contact my parents. A long while later, they finally arrived. The nurse began her instructions. She needs to take her medication on time, 3 times a day. The topical cream for her skin needs to be applied every 3 hours to prevent infection. And she needs plenty of water. No greasy or heavy foods for now. Also, she cannot be left alone. If you don't have time, you need to hire a private nurse. After her speech, she began to tidy up her cart. My father's brow was furrowed in a deep, angry V as he glared at me. You knew you were allergic to fertilizer, but you provoked me anyway. You deliberately forced me to put that sack on your head. Sarah, you really know how to make people suffer. Listen to that. Could he even hear the words coming out of his own mouth? And yet, despite it all, the comments were still praising him for his restrained love. I turned my back to him, wanting nothing more than for him to disappear. But this small act of defiance seemed to ignite his rage. He ripped the blanket off me. If you weren't always playing the victim, always acting so weak and pitiful, maybe I would have believed you about the allergy. Why did we ever create something as disgusting as you? I curled into a ball on the bed, bracing for the blows and insults that were sure to follow. But then, something unexpected happened. Someone defended me. What? You're the father who put a fertilizer sack on his own child's head? Are you insane? The nurse's sharp, incredulous voice made my eyes fly open. My parents and Ethan froze. Leslie, standing beside them, frowned. My mother rushed to my father's defense. Nurse, you've misunderstood. My husband didn't know she was allergic. She made him angry and he just— The nurse shot my mother a withering look, then turned her glare back to my father. It doesn't matter how angry she made you. You don't put a bag full of chemicals on a child's head. A normal person would get a rash just from touching that stuff, and you put it over her head? It's like you wanted to kill her. My mother was speechless. My father looked like he wanted to argue, but his sense of propriety kept him from lashing out at a stranger. The nurse wasn't finished. The father didn't know she was allergic and you, the mother, didn't know either? I don't know what this child did to deserve being born into a family like yours. My brother, unable to stand seeing our parents criticized, finally spoke up. Nurse, this is a private family matter. It's overstepping to pass judgment when you don't know the full story. My mother shook her head frantically. No, that's not it. He was doing it for her own good. A cold, mocking laugh escaped the nurse's lips. For her own good? Then why didn't he put the sack over your head? Do you have any morals at all saying something like that? A severe allergic reaction combined with a night in the rain. If she'd been brought in any later, she'd be dead. She's a minor. I can report you for child abuse, you know. My mother was speechless. My father looked like he wanted to argue, but his sense of propriety kept him from lashing out at a stranger. The nurse wasn't finished. The father didn't know she was allergic, and you, the mother, didn't know either? I don't know what this child did to deserve being born into a family like yours. My brother, unable to stand seeing our parents criticized, finally spoke up. Nurse, this is a private family matter. It's overstepping to pass judgment when you don't know the full story. Leslie chimed in, not to be left out. You don't know what happened, so you should just be quiet. My sister murdered my Bubbles. She's a murderer. That's why my parents punished her. The nurse's brow furrowed in confusion. She looked at me. Bubbles? A murderer? I explained, my voice still hoarse. Bubbles was the name of a goldfish. I was so tired from cleaning the house that I forgot to feed him, and he died, although for the life of me, I don't know how they could be sure which of the fish in the tank was Bubbles. The nurse's expression was a mixture of disbelief and horror, as if she was afraid she'd misheard. Other patients in the ward were now leaning in, listening intently. I swallowed hard and met everyone's gaze. My father put a fertilizer sack on my head to make me wear mourning for a goldfish. Yesterday, my birthday, became the anniversary of Bubbles' death. I'm supposed to live in the shadow of his death for the rest of my life, atoning for my sin. Tears streamed down my face, a dam of pent-up misery finally breaking. The comments, of course, didn't miss a beat. How could Sarah be so ungrateful? Her family loves her so much, and this is how she repays them, telling strangers these things. What is she complaining about? Isn't this pampered life good enough? What more does she want from them? Sarah, you're really pushing it. This was your fault to begin with. What are you trying to pull now? But for once, their words didn't matter. This wasn't my house. This was a hospital, a public place. Holy crap. We're mourning for a goldfish? What is wrong with this family? This is hilarious. What kind of goldfish requires a living person to hold a vigil for it? You see all kinds of crazies, but a whole family of them? Tormenting their daughter like this over a fish. Did you guys see her arms and legs? There are rope marks. This is straight up abuse. No, this is assault. Attempted murder. The nurse said. She almost died. Nurse, you should call the police. Or social services. Otherwise, who knows what will happen to this girl? The murmurs grew into a chorus of outrage. My parents' faces were masks of thunderous fury. Ethan and Leslie clenched their fists, a flicker of uncertainty in their eyes. And the comments were screaming at me to stop making a scene. Sarah, I'm warning you. Get a grip. These are your parents, your brother, your sister. Stop them. This is your family's business. What right do these outsiders have to interfere? Are you tired of being the cherished daughter? Do you have to cause trouble for no reason? Get your head on straight, and remember who your family is. Who was my family? That was a good question. Right now, the nurse and the concerned strangers around me felt more like family than anyone. My real family, the ones who blindly doted on Leslie, felt more like my enemies. I wasn't lying. I wasn't slandering them. I was just telling the truth, hoping for a shred of justice. Let me get this straight, the police officer said, her pen poised over her notebook. She and a woman from social services were sitting by my hospital bed. Your parents made you kneel before the grave of a goldfish that may or may not have died of starvation, forced you to wear a burlap sack as mourning clothes, and deliberately left you out in the rain all night as punishment. I nodded, then proceeded to tell them everything, all the abuse I had endured for as long as I could remember. They listened intently, their expressions a mixture of shock and disbelief. After all, my father was a business titan whose name frequently appeared on the Forbes list. My mother was a celebrated designer. How could two people of their stature engage in such degrading behavior? Do you have any proof? The officer asked. I thought for a moment. There are cameras all over the house. You could check the footage. She's nothing but an ungrateful viper. How could she do this to the parents and brother who love her? Complaining to strangers is one thing, but getting the police and social services involved? She's insane. Sarah, just go die. Your actions have already made your family cry. So disgusting, so cruel. Just die, Sarah. Die, and get it over with. The comments swirled around my head, growing more vicious by the second. But their venom couldn't touch me anymore. Soon, the security footage from our house was retrieved. Everything I had said was confirmed. The police and the social worker asked me what I wanted. I looked them straight in the eye. I don't want to be their unpaid maid anymore. I don't want to live under their roof and endure their abuse. I want to leave that house. But as my legal guardians, they are required to provide for me whatever the law stipulates for child support. That's what I'll take. I'm not trying to take advantage of them. And later when they were old, I would fulfill my legal obligation and support them to the tune of $200 a month once they hit 65, and not a penny more. The social worker nodded and had the entire family sit down for mediation. Based on the average monthly expenses for a high school student, we've calculated a support payment of $1,200 per month, she said, sliding a document across the table. If there are no objections, both parties can sign here. The words had barely left her mouth when my father snatched the agreement and ripped it to shreds. He pointed a trembling finger at me, his voice a roar. Sarah, have you no conscience? Where would you even go if you left home? We've given you everything, and this is how you repay us. Your mother hasn't slept, we haven't eaten. We've been here dealing with your drama. Enough is enough. So you had to kneel for Bubbles, big deal. You're blowing this completely out of proportion. You're coming home with us right now. He lunged for me, but I shrank back. The police officer stepped between us, issuing my father a stern warning. My father glared at me, his face contorted with a hatred so pure, it was terrifying. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Sarah, you're my child, my own flesh and blood. Can you really be so cruel? Can you really leave this family, leave us? I met her gaze without flinching and gave a sharp, definitive nod. I had never felt a mother's love from her, only her blatant favoritism for Leslie. I didn't want a mother like that. Ethan's eyes were red-rimmed. Sarah, you're being childish. We're a family. Do you even know what that means? Families work through their problems. Be good, come home with us. That art book you wanted is still on your bed. You've wanted it for so long. My voice was terrifyingly calm. The art book Leslie didn't want anymore, that you only remembered to give me as an afterthought. I don't want it. If we were really a family, you wouldn't have criticized every meal I ever cooked for you. If we were really a family, you wouldn't have treated me like a servant and made me polish your shoes. You never took me out to eat, never gave me an allowance telling me it was to build character, forcing me to get a job. You never spent a single dime on me, never showed me an ounce of concern. A family like that is disgusting. Under pressure from the police and social services, my parents had no choice but to sign the agreement. Seeing my resolve, Ethan finally gave up trying to persuade me. Only Leslie stood there, a triumphant little smile on her face. She even mouthed a taunt at me. Idiot. From now on, Mom, Dad, and Ethan are all mine. I didn't care. As soon as my parents signed the papers, I noticed something strange. The number of angry comments swirling around my head had dwindled. The once constant flood of text was now just a few scattered phrases. At first, I thought they had just grown tired of yelling at me. But then, I happened to glance at Leslie. And I saw them. The comments were now floating above her head. From today on, our sweet little Leslie is going to be the cherished princess of the family. You have to be a good girl, Leslie. Just relax and let your family spoil you. I'm so excited I can't sleep. Just thinking about Mr. Kripke becoming a total girl dad and Ethan becoming the ultimate protective brother. And Mrs. Kripke, she'll be attached to Leslie's hip. You have to wear matching mother-daughter outfits. It'll be adorable. Leslie noticed them too. Her initial shock quickly morphed into a wide, delighted grin as she read the words. She was completely lost in the fantasy of being the new center of her family's universe. I, however, felt a flicker of something. A premonition. Would she, like me, be driven mad by these comments? News that I had moved out of my family home and into the school dorms spread like wildfire. On my first day back, Leslie had already spun a tale for everyone, painting me as a jealous, malicious troublemaker who had finally been cast out by her long-suffering family. I ignored the rumors. Free from the crushing weight of my family, I could finally focus all my energy on my studies with the $1,200 a month. As my grades steadily improved, my classmates started to see me in a new light. Leslie's fabricated stories began to unravel under their own scrutiny. Leslie said Sarah stole money? No way. Who even keeps cash at home anymore? Exactly. And if Sarah had stolen money, would she be wearing those worn-out shoes to school? It's obvious she was being abused and had to move into the dorms to escape. Yeah, my mom works for social services. Her office was the one that forced Sarah's parents to pay that $1,200 a month. And look at Leslie, everything she wears costs more than that. TSK, spoiling the fake daughter while starving the real one. Who wouldn't be messed up by that? I heard that Sarah used to be their free maid and had to work a part-time job to buy Leslie gifts. Now that she doesn't have to work, she's acing all her classes. Moving into the dorms was the best thing that ever happened to her. As these whispers grew louder, other students started to approach me, to befriend me. I lost myself in the simple joy of studying with friends. Then one Monday morning, the last of the abusive comments that had plagued me for so long vanished completely. Meanwhile, the storm of comments above Leslie's head had grown into a raging tempest. "Leslie, honey, how could you say your mom is useless this morning? So she can't make pancakes, that doesn't mean she doesn't love you. You just missed one breakfast, and she was heartbroken all day. You should apologize as soon as you get home. Your dad hit you last night because you're the one who drove your sister away. A fish died, and you had the nerve to make your sister hold a vigil for it? That was way too much. You need to convince your sister to come home. When your brother yelled at you on the way out, it's because he's sick of you making a big deal out of nothing and always taking your sister's things. You're the cherished one now. Can't you be a little more generous to her?" The relentless barrage of comments was clearly getting to Leslie. Her face was a constant mask of sullen frustration. During a break between classes, I saw her go out to the athletic field alone. She started screaming at the empty air, eventually collapsing onto the grass, sobbing in fury. "Love me? You call this love? They just want me to be the new maid. They hit me and scream at me for every little thing. Are you people insane? Why don't you tell them to give me more money, to give me a few credit cards? You want me to be your free servant? Dream on. I'm not an idiot like my sister." Yes, I was an idiot. An idiot who let the comments train her like a dog. I wondered how long my clever little sister would last in her battle against them. I was 17, a junior in high school. It was time to choose our academic tracks. I chose the sciences. Leslie chose the arts. After that, we barely saw each other. On the rare occasion we crossed paths in the bathroom, she would just keep her head down, never acknowledging me. The cloud of comments above her head had become a dense, dark fog. The words were so foul that you could hardly make out a single clean one. "Are you a *king idiot? You're the worst daughter ever. Why don't you just die? Your existence only makes your parents and brother sad. You're so much worse than your sister. You stupid brat. Just jump off the roof already. End it. What a piece of trash. An adopted kid shouldn't be so demanding. Dad's shoes aren't polished. Mom's silk pajamas need to be gently washed. And you'd better be scrubbing your brother's underwear by hand. Disgusting moron. A waste of air alive. A waste of space dead. Get home and start cleaning and cooking. You're a maid. Act like it." Among the swirling vortex of text, those were some of the more legible insults. The rest were unprintable. A tiny, fleeting spark of pity for Leslie flickered within me. But then I remembered everything she had done to me, and I ruthlessly extinguished it. I felt a cold sense of satisfaction watching her get crushed by the same weight that had nearly broken me. I watched as the vibrant, pampered princess withered into a lifeless, haunted old woman in a teenager's body. In the final semester of our senior year, Leslie jumped from the roof of the main school building. The incident caused an uproar. The school immediately called the police. In Leslie's backpack, they found a suicide note. It was filled with a raw, burning hatred for our parents and brother. "You said you loved me, but you treated me like a slave. The moment I did something wrong, I was met with Mom's verbal abuse, Dad's belt, and Ethan's rage. Was my sister leaving really all my fault? You were all to blame, but you piled all the guilt onto me. You're disgusting. The most disgusting family I have ever seen. You made me work to buy Mom a new bracelet, made me collect cans to buy Ethan new sneakers, made me sacrifice all my time just to be Dad's good little girl. For what? What have you ever done for me? You're cheapskates. I was starving, and you still had the nerve to say you loved me. I don't want to live anymore. I haven't wanted to since the first time Dad hit me. You killed me. You smothered me with your love. You are murderers." The note was clear. It was a domestic dispute. But the police and social services still paid a visit to our home, taking our parents and brother in for questioning. The three of them were a picture of shock, grief, and regret. The police couldn't fathom how they could be so shameless as to still claim they had loved Leslie. Ultimately, her death was ruled a suicide. My parents and brother faced no legal consequences. When they came to the school to collect Leslie's body, I saw something new. The comments had appeared above my brother Ethan's head. From now on, Ethan is Mom and Dad's precious baby. Time to continue your life as the cherished one. You have to be a good boy, Ethan. Don't be rebellious like Leslie. I'm so excited thinking about Mr. Kripke becoming a doting dad to his son, and Mrs. Kripke becoming a total helicopter mom. This is going to be great. I watched them leave, my expression blank, and I waited for the comments to continue their evil work. It wasn't long before I heard the news about my brother. After a heated argument with our parents, he had deliberately entered a street race at Devil's Ridge, a mountain pass with a deadly reputation. His brakes failed. The car plunged off a cliff. Miraculously, he survived. But his legs were so severely damaged they had to be amputated. His hands were crushed by falling rocks, his fingers gone. From now on, my brother would be confined to a bed, utterly helpless. My mother's grief was a storm of endless tears. My father's grief was a storm of rage. He took out his belt and whipped him. I told you not to enter that dangerous race. You did it anyway. Are you trying to kill us? I'm going to beat you to death today. It's your fault I'm in this pain. Your fault your mother is heartbroken. Ungrateful son. You ungrateful son. Your existence is a curse upon us. Ethan screamed in agony under the blows. He tried to fight back. I'm your son, not your pet, not your maid or your chauffeur. Why should I have to do your laundry and cook your mayonnaise? Why did I have to give up my racing career just to serve you? Sarah and Leslie were right. You're monsters. Demons who feast on the flesh and blood of your own children. His defiance only fueled our father's rage and deepened our mother's pain. My father beat him until his mouth was a swollen, bloody mess, unable to form another word. And all the while, the comments above his head never stopped. Stupid boy. You could have been the cherished one, but you had to whine about freedom. Without your parents, you'd have nothing. You wouldn't have a race car. How can you not repay their love with devotion? Selfish, idiotic trash. The fact that you didn't die is God's greatest punishment for you. From now on, you will live with our condemnation. We will destroy your spirit. I stood outside the hospital room, watching the vicious comments swirl. I couldn't understand where they came from, until I walked past a service corridor and overheard my parents talking. 3 kids, and every single one of them is useless, my father grumbled. What do we do now? There's no one to cook and clean for us, no one to be our maid. How are we supposed to live our lives? My mother's brow was furrowed, her face grim. I guess we'll have to hire a maid. They're not that expensive. My father exploded. Hire a maid? Easy for you to say. Can you afford it with your $5,000 a month? Can I afford it with my 6? The Kripke fortune is gone. We bankrupted the company years ago. We're lucky we still have a house and a car and food on the table. And you want to hire a maid? Hire my ass. And we still have to pay that deadbeat Sarah $1,200 a month. We're going to be ruined. So that was it. The family was broke. My father wasn't a business tycoon. My mother wasn't a genius designer. They were just vampires, using the comments to suck the life out of their children. Those comments, it was their doing. My heart pounded. I quickly pulled out my phone and started recording. My mother sighed. I knew it. We should have had more kids back when we had money. Then we wouldn't be in this unmanned situation. Maybe we could adopt from an orphanage. They come pre-made. My father nodded. It's the only way. We spent $1 million on that comment indoctrination system. We can't let it go to waste. If we adopt an orphan, we just have to feed them. A maid, you have to house them, feed them, and pay them a salary. It's not cost-effective at all. Let's go. To the orphanage. This time, we'll pick one that's obedient and reliable. My mother nodded firmly. All right. I took the video straight to the police. They launched an investigation into the black market my parents had mentioned. After a period of surveillance, they uncovered the truth. A shadow organization had developed and was selling a comment indoctrination system. Once activated, the system would use a relentless stream of personalized comments to gradually condition the target into becoming a submissive slave. Immature and insecure minors were the perfect targets. My parents had used this system to try and turn me, my brother, and Leslie into their personal servants. But I had escaped their abuse. Leslie had chosen suicide over their exploitation. And my brother was now a broken man. The police took this new type of crime very seriously. Using a nationwide network of surveillance systems, they located the black market headquarters. The night the entire ring was busted, my parents were also arrested for child abuse. The orphans they had adopted were, of course, returned to the orphanage. Under intense interrogation, my parents confessed to everything. But they were unrepentant, arguing that as their children, we were obligated to do whatever they commanded. They decided to sue. Due to the unique nature of the case, the court decided on a public trial, which was broadcast live online. At first, the public didn't understand what comment indoctrination really was. But when the prosecution displayed the vicious, manipulative comments on screen, a wave of revulsion and fury swept through the nation. The public demanded the death penalty. There are people who can weaponize comments to drive their own children to suicide? That's monstrous. They're the ones who killed Leslie and their son. Death to the murderers. My parents had not anticipated this public outcry. The court, which had initially been considering a 30-year sentence, was swayed by the overwhelming public demand for justice. They were sentenced to death. On the day of their execution, I received my acceptance letter from an Ivy League university. I looked up at the vast, clear blue sky. The suffocating weight of family that had crushed my heart for so long finally at that moment dissolved into thin air.
Alright guys, after that emotional roller coaster, here's the moral of the story. If your family makes you apologize to a goldfish and hold a 7-day funeral, it's not tough love, it's a full subscription to crazy premium. Like seriously, if the fish has better post-death treatment than you do? If happy birthday turns into kneel in the rain and don't die optional? If invisible commenters are hyping up abuse like it's a reality show finale? Run, don't walk, run. Also, feed the fish, but maybe feed yourself first. Don't trust random voices hyping toxic people, whether they're in your head, comments, or real life. Family is not who gaslights you the hardest. And if someone says, this is for your own good, double check they're not about to ruin your life. Final takeaway. Being the good daughter is overrated. Being alive, free, and sane? 10 out of 10 would recommend. Drop a like if you agree, and remember, if Bubbles dies, it's sad. If you almost die over Bubbles, that's a documentary waiting to happen.